Braveheart Workshops, inspiring connection, restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Live well, laugh often, love much. Join our online connection circles. Be empowered in our virtual live events. Be a guest on our podcast shows. Hire us or be hired for speaking engagements. Enhance hope, health, and healing in your lives. Creating global connections. The Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing in 2021, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Karen Fox. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Thank you, Jill. Glad to be here.
Well, we're so grateful that you're joining us from the St. Louis area, and I would love the audience to know just a little bit about you, Karen. So I'm going to read your bio. Karen Fox has been called dynamite in a small package since 2009. Karen has been bringing her award-winning expertise in sales, marketing, and leadership to now encompass the role of dynamic speaker, coach, and digital strategist. She has helped clients increase their income by up to 700%. Besides her years of experience running 2 companies, some of her certifications include NLP Practitioner, Domination Market Strategist, and John Maxwell Speaker and Trainer. She specializes in helping clients discover the power in developing their business strategies and how to market to the right audience with their unique message through her extraordinary success sales and marketing process. She helps her clients increase their influence, impact, and income. Karen Fox is better known as Karen the Connector. I love that, Karen.
Thanks.
Well, one thing I love the most about it is that you're the connector and we're the Connection Show. So it's no accident that we didn't connect.
Absolutely.
Well, Karen, one of the things that I love, I am a Christian, and one of the things I love biblically is how throughout the accounts of Jesus walking on earth, he was able to see the accounts and stories of those who he connected with. And so I truly believe that the stories and accounts of our lives that we have, I believe that when we take those and we connect dots to each aspect of our lives, it brings us into fruition, into who we are today. And therefore, we can weave our stories into the lives of others. And when they hear the story and they look for the similarities in that story instead of the differences, true connection really occurs.
I would agree 100%.
So I want to take the audience on a journey with you, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, love to.
So I always believe connecting the dots starts at an early age. So whatever you're willing to share with us, would you take us on those dots back to little Karen growing up, the good, the bad, and the ugly? I love that. The good, the bad, and just share a little story or connection of anything of your childhood that connects you to who you are today.
Well, my journey as a child started out with an amazing dad when he wasn't drinking. And when he was, Lord knows, nobody needed to be around him. And he was the type of guy that would give you the shirt off his back if he wasn't drinking. An extremely talented welder. However, the drinking got the best of him. And my mother and father divorced when I was 11. And I have to say, it was probably the best thing that ever happened. And during that time, my mother started going to church, and we found a little church that we got extremely involved in. And I couldn't imagine my life today without that church and where that has brought me.
Mm-hmm. So share a little bit more with the Dotsons. So what was life like then? Um, were you able to still see your father in visitation, or did that connection end?
Well, no, usually he was drunk. So anytime I was anywhere near him, his area, um, he did not want to come see me because of that reason.
Mm.
So he promised me the world, like every other kid, you sit on the step waiting all weekend for them to come, and they never come. And later in his life, I got the privilege of being with him his last 3 years of his life and dealing with his cancer and him dying. But it was such a mending time for me because I got to ask all those questions of how could I be so close and you not care enough to come over and see me. And so, no, I didn't get to see a whole lot of my dad. My mom tried and tried and tried and tried to make it work. A lot of hope going on there. And it just wasn't something that was going to be. But on the other hand, even though he didn't get to spend time with me, I got to spend time with some of his other family members that are probably the reason why I went to the same little church I went to. They were a part of that church, and they would pick me up on Sunday and take me in. So even though he wasn't a part of it, part of him was a part of it.
Oh, that's really good. So then with at 11, if you wanted to connect some dots from there on, were there other instances in your life that you felt were part of the weaving besides church? Did mom remarry, or were there other instances of some sorrow or grief that you can recollect that again brought you to more hope, health, and healing in your life?
Well, no, my mother did not remarry. My mother would work 3 jobs to support me because my dad didn't pay child support or anything. And I watched this incredible woman step out into what was a man's world and became the first female buyer in automotive. So a lot of determination and a lot of favor of God, and this incredible woman obviously impacted my life. And learned that you have to work for what you want. You have to have a determination, but with God, nothing's impossible. And then from there, I married the most amazing man in the world. Still feel that way after 40 years. And yet we had a struggle. It took us 15 years to carry a child full term. And there's a multitude of things in between. I don't know how much you want me to really tell, Jill.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's really a good start, and and just to kind of get a grasp. And I still, and I think a lot of it. This is why I love connecting dots, Karen, is when people share story and you hear it, it connects with yourself. And so as you spoke, I definitely resonate your story with my story. And as people hear your story at the Hope, Health, and Healing Conference, I'm sure they'll connect theirs. But as you spoke, um, I really resonate with that little girl waiting and waiting and waiting, because I too was that little girl waiting on the steps. Mine was waiting for my mother to come home because we were lock-key children, and she stayed out all day and night. And so I was always waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's kind of funny because, not funny, but I wouldn't use the word funny. It's very weaving of our stories that here I am now, 67 years old, still doing my therapy because, stuff comes up in life. And just today I'm weaving my story of how hard it is for me personally to do these events. Even though God keeps inspiring me to do them, I keep fighting God, Karen, and saying, but Lord, I don't know if I can do this. He goes, you're going to do it, Jill. You're okay. You can do it. And so what keeps coming up is this little girl part of me that goes, but God, I hate waiting for people to register. I'm so stressed out. God, can you just have everyone register by tomorrow? And it's like the waiting part from my little girl waiting just gets so activated and so anxious. And so have you experienced stuff like that even in your own life growing up, where certain things that you had as a child you see that's really difficult for you as an adult today?
Oh, absolutely. There, everything in life is, I call it happy detours, because now we're not looking at it as a great happy thing when it's happening, but when you see how God is really directing it and putting you at the right place at the right times, that's how it becomes a happy detour. So yes, all that through life, it affects us in a multitude of ways, and I think that's where we really have to step back and go, okay, that's me. What can I do? What out of that can I help someone else with? Because it created who we are, but we can let it either make us or break us. And I think it's looking for those happy detours, or the areas that we can learn from and build from that make the difference in us.
Well, and I find it very transformational listening to you, because as I see this little Karen sitting there waiting, and now this 11-year-old Karen, I see her, with this fabulous mom, but who's working 3 jobs. And I can just envision the loneliness that sets into your heart as a child, the loneliness. And so I find it interesting that this lonely little girl who waited, and then whose mom, who obviously couldn't be with you all the time because she had to work to provide, that she becomes this great connector.
Never really thought about it.
That's why I love connecting dots, Karen. Dots are powerful ministry tools. So I just, something to ponder. And as the audience listens, because I'm sure the audience out there can really relate to the parts of your own life, audience, when you had to wait and you've had these feelings of loneliness set in, and then how maybe God has directed you to also be a connector like Karen. So through loneliness, He's taught us how to connect and bring others together and bring it full circle. I feel like it's a beautiful connection.
Love it.
Yes. So, why Hope, Health, and Healing Conference? Why did you choose this platform to have a voice?
Well, I have to say, Jill, I guess God's, first of all, has kind of been nudging me. I speak a lot on business, and I just went to a conference, and it was interesting because I was talking to God before I went in, and I'm like, okay, God, why am I not in the position somebody else is? I know more than they do. I've done the due diligence. Why am I not there? And God very clearly said, that's not your story. And I get into the conference, and the conference is, this is your story. And it was like, okay, God, I get it. I need to talk more about what you've done and the hope and the healing that you've done in my life. And so that was when we talked, it was like, okay, God, is this, I didn't expect it quite that soon, but okay, God, we're in.
And it was just at that time God directed me to you, that you were having these conversations with God.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I just love that, and you can see on my screen here it says share your story, and I just believe so much that when we can get to a place of sharing our story, and one saying I love, and I use it all the time. I'm stealing it from Dan Allender. He's a world-renowned author and psychiatrist out of Seattle, Washington, the Seattle School of Theology, and he shares that when you share your story at a helicopter view, it's very difficult to connect with the audience of listening to you, because when you're at a helicopter, you're not connecting with the emotions that go with it. So Dan explains that when sharing story, it's so impactful to learn how to land your plane. And I remember hearing that, Karen, for the first time when I was in a 2-year Wounded Heart group in Chicago. He wrote the book Wounded Heart and Healing the Wounded Heart for sexual abuse survivors. And I had for years with my therapist and sometimes people I met shared about a date rape. But I never said more than that. I just said I was date raped. And so that's a helicopter view. So what Dan had us do is in 1,000 words or less, we had to descriptively write about that. I call them either the small T's in our lives, the small traumas, or the big T's. And so when we have a small T or a big T, it's really good to take pen and paper out and descriptively write out the circumstance that happened, because what that does is it gets you landing the plane. And so when you share that with others, that is what will impact the person listening to connect your story with theirs and weave it together, and transformation just is powerful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's that. So what I would love now is showing the audience your bio. And so this is Karen Fox, and it's got her website, theconnector.com website that you can connect with her. And so she's going to be with us in Branson, Missouri, August 20th to 22nd, 2021. So please go to braveheartworkshops.com. Register and get your tickets today, because you do not want to miss Karen's story. It goes much more into landing the plane than we did here. So she will be landing the plane at the King's Castle Theater in Branson. So join us there. Karen, thank you so much for saying yes to this.
Oh, Jill, thank you for the opportunity. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining The Connection Show. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. Let's restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Enhance connection in our online connection circles. A place to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Click on the Books Podcast tab, and then the Connection Circles drop down. On the pop-up, join our Connection Circles Facebook group. Our circles meet from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share story, topics, and laughter with men and women. To learn more about Connection Circles, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show, and have a great day.